Week 2 of the Rfffl was full of surprises, and for week 3 surprise, I'm filming this video at 9:45 on Wednesday night, so if I mess anything up, I'm just going to do it all in one take anyway. And my phone went off. Ignore that. Let's talk about what happened last week. Natalie came out swinging in her week 2 matchup against Catherine, as Terry McLaurin's 27 points on Thursday night set the tone for the weekend. The majority of the points came during the Sunday early games, and the match was well in hand before the late games got started. Natalie ran away with this one, which finished with a score of 145 to 87. After the early games, Catherine addressed the league, saying, quote, "This week was embarrassing, revamping this team." Caroline and Cernitz-a-Lot faced off against Rachel and 911 this weekend in what turned out to be one of the most back and forth contests we would see. This game held a total of 11 lead changes, but at the end of the Sunday late games, Rachel was out of gas and about 4 points short, a spread which was only widened by Mark Andrews in the Sunday night game. The final of this one was 106 to 93, and it would have been even closer if Rachel had put her kicker into her lineup. Luckily, she'll have plenty of time to get it sorted before her matchup with Jared this week. Dave kept his firm grasp on the number 1 spot in his face-off with Kang this week. Kang had built a lead going into Sunday night with big games from Tom Brady and Austin Eckler, but Patrick Mahomes was quick to tear it down with his 24-point outing, which let Dave ride his lead through Monday for his first 2-0 start since 2018. Next week, he'll look to continue handing teams their first losses as he takes on 2-0 Natalie. After trailing all weekend, Eric rode Aaron Jones's turnaround 41-point Monday night performance to steal a win away from Anna and Dizzy's dummies. Anna takes her second straight loss despite outscoring more than half the league again, and she currently stands as the 6th highest scoring team in the league. Eric is right below her in scoring, and he'll need to keep up the pace as he takes on Kathy this week. Eric with a K extended his win streak to 10 this week with a big win over Susan, and yep, 2021 blows as well. This one looked close going into Monday night, but Aaron Rodgers, TJ Hawkinson, and Mason Crosby posted over 50 combined points to push Eric with a K over the hill as he took this one 130 to 104. Susan will have to get back on track as she takes on Kang in week 3. Kyle looks like he picked up where he left off last year, posting a new 2021 single-week record on the back of this week's highest scorer, Derrick Henry's 47.7-point overtime performance and defeating Jared 159 to 106. Jared's downfall included quarterback Trevor Lawrence's 118-yard game with 2 interceptions, posting only 6.82 points. Kyle will be looking to make it 3 in a row as he faces fellow undefeated manager Eric with a K. In our lowest scoring matchup of the week, Kathy eked out a win over her brother Dan with help from Lamar Jackson, Mike Williams, and pretty much no one else on her roster. Those two players combined for 54 of Kathy's 89.96 points, and anything less wouldn't have been able to beat Dan's 89.86. Kathy outscored Dan at every position except for kicker and defense in a matchup where every yard mattered. Dan will have to try again for his first win of the year as he takes on Caroline this week. That was week 2. Let's look at what's going on right now before we look ahead to week 3. Dave, as I said, is holding on to that number 1 spot with Kyle right on his tail at number 2. Down the line are Natalie and Eric, and these 4 teams are all playing each other this week, so we're guaranteed to see 2 3-0 teams next week. Filling out our top 6 are Jared and Eric, with Susan on the outside looking in, followed by Kang, Caroline, and Kathy, while Anna, Dan, Catherine, and Rachel fill out the rest of the list. Over to this week's transactions now. Before the game started last week, Rachel did in fact pick up a new kicker in Chase McLaughlin, dropping Sam Ficken, as well as Ty Johnson of the Jets backfield to replace her second kicker, Michael Badgley. Kathy picked up Damian Williams and Justin Jackson and dropped Kyle Juszczyk. Catherine dropped the Chargers defense in favor of the Saints. Susan filled the Darrington Evans injured reserve spot with LaMichael Pirine before changing her mind and grabbing Kalen Ballage instead. Kang dropped the Ravens defense for the Browns and picked up Alan Lazard to fill an empty spot on his bench. Eric with a K took Russell Gage back and let go of the Broncos defense. Kyle picked up Jared Patterson for Anthony Firkser and then dropped Patterson for Jermichael Hasty, who suffered an injury against the Eagles. Eric picked up Jerry Jeudy on Thursday's waivers and moved him to the IR before Jamison Crowder came off of COVID reserve to fill the spot left from the Raheem Mostert drop last week. On the Wednesday waiver wire, Catherine held true to her promise to revamp her team, taking Teddy Bridgewater to replace Jameis Winston after his disappointing week 2. Dan picked up Falcons running back Cordarrelle Patterson to fill a roster spot left when Jarvis Landry was moved to the IR. Caroline dropped the injured Tua Tagovailoa for Cardinals wideout Rondale Moore. Kang picked up Jonnu Smith in exchange for Michael Gallup. Jared dropped Mac Jones for Kirk Cousins. Kyle dropped JaMychal Hasty to pick up Zach Pascal. Jared then dropped Trevor Lawrence and Jason Sanders to pick up Daniel Jones and Alexander Madison. After waivers cleared, Dan picked up Darrell Williams and dropped the Niners defense. Jared dropped the Washington defense in favor of Carolina and Ryan Suckup in favor of Nick Folk. Catherine dropped the Saints defense to grab the Broncos. Kyle re-added Derek Carr and dropped Zach Wilson. And Kang dropped Gerald Everett for Tyler Boyd. Let me check on my phone to make sure nothing else has happened, because I feel like it just keeps happening where you guys make moves while I'm making these videos. Nothing new. That's Kang taking Tyler Boyd. You can't see it, but there's Tyler Boyd and Gerald Everett. That's the most recent thing that's happened. I'm not missing anything. Anything else that happens, I'll have to talk about next week. With that in mind, looking ahead to next week's games, Eric with a K takes on Kyle in their third meeting. It'll be a running back matchup for the ages with Christian McCaffrey lining up against Derrick Henry, but the tight ends will also play a large part with Eric's TJ Hawkinson taking on Kyle's Darren Waller. Eric with a K took the first 2 meetings last year, but Kyle might be the one to play spoiler this week. If Tony Pollard stays in the lineup, it'll come down to Monday night, and NFL.com says, excuse me, I didn't put this one in my script. Let me look really quickly. Right now, it looks like it's going to, it's going to Eric, 128.87 to 126.83. That's what NFL.com says on Wednesday night. Caroline and Dan will also square off for their first of 2 meetings this year. The matchup favors Caroline currently at 3-2, but with Dan still hungry for his first win, this could go either way. Dan still hasn't gotten a breakout fantasy week from first overall draft pick Josh Allen, and the Washington defense is going to do everything they can to keep him waiting even longer. On the other side, Caroline's Kyler Murray is yet to post fewer than 33 points in 1 week, and the Jacksonville defense he'll be facing has not shown what it takes to prevent more of the same. Currently, NFL.com has this one going to probably Caroline. It's loading. No, it's going to Dan, 118.62 to 112.46. In a game that I have dubbed this week's Game of the Week, the 2 teams I called mediocre in the season preview will face off to see who starts this season 3-0. Both Dave and Natalie have had huge showings in their first 2 games with help from players like Cooper Kupp for Dave and Terry McLaurin for Natalie, but one of them has to fall this week, unless they tie, which is so unlikely. Historically, the matchup favors Dave, and Natalie's projections still haven't caught up to her performance, so NFL.com seems to think this one is going to go to Dad by a mile. Eric and Kathy will play their 21st overall matchup this week. History favors Kathy in this one 12-8, but Eric has won 4 of the last 5 meetings. Kathy edged out a win last week with fewer than 90 points, but NFL.com says Aaron Jones and Russell Wilson do just enough to push Eric to 2-1 on the season by a score of 117 to 113. Kang's welcome tour sees Susan greeting him in week 3. The 2 teams have almost identical points per game, and they're both coming off of losses that pushed each of them out of the top 6. Susan has never won week 1 and lost week 2 before this year, so I don't even have a fun factoid for this matchup. Somewhere I wrote down everyone's record against newcomers, but this video is already late. So I'll just tell you, NFL.com says Susan's going to win this one 125 to 111. Anna has her first matchup with a newcomer this week as she takes on Catherine. Both teams are winless through 2 weeks, though Catherine is averaging under 100 points per game, while, as I stated, Anna is the 6th highest scorer in the league. In fact, of the 10 teams who have at least 1 loss this year, Jared is the only one with more points than Anna, and it's a 2.5 point margin. Despite that, NFL.com's projections say that Catherine should win this one 121 to 122. And finally, Rachel will look to bring home her first win over Jared and You Shall Not Pass. Jared is already off to a better start than last year, but if he can win this one, he'll have a shot at his first ever 3-1 start. Rachel is the lowest scorer in the league thus far in this young season, but last week she outscored 3 different teams, so maybe this week she'll catch a break. Unfortunately, the NFL.com projections do not agree, as they have Jared winning this one 129 to 115. That's all I've got for you this week. Hopefully this video gets up in a timely manner, and you all didn't make 5 more roster moves between this being filmed and this being published. But either way, good luck to you all. You know where I'll be next week, and it's going to look a lot better than this does. I'll see you then.